Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures. College football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds. NBA odds of division winners and playoffs. Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds. The National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds. And boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good morning. Happy Easter and welcome to the Sunday Morning Sports Show. I'm graciously sitting in for our host, Mac. Mac, continue to rest up. Hello to you and Miss Linda, and happy Easter to you all, the production team of National Streaming Sports. I'm joined by Jack, Keith, Bistrella, and J-Train. Good morning, gentlemen, and happy Easter. How are you?
Hello. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Yeah, so good to be here with all of you all on today. Got a lot of sports news. Just letting you know that going forward until the NFL season begins, we will be commencing our show 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with our 9 a.m. being a feature of our Saturday debate show. So stay tuned for that encore presentation. And also join Keith Angle at the 8:30 hour on his network, TGI Sports. He has Stream of Consciousness and a host of other great shows, not only today, but throughout the week. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit NFL draft. This is officially draft week, and we're going to see what we can squeeze in with the NBA round 1 playoffs from last night. But first, let's get your thoughts on the draft. It's been kind of a quiet weekend.
Yeah, I mean, things are never going to go in the draft exactly the way you expect them. Like Priscilla said, there's going to be some surprise somewhere. Last year was Michael Penix Jr. taken by the Falcons, which was actually a good move, but no one could see the logic behind it because they just signed Kirk Cousins to the free agent contract. So what's going to be the move this year? I think the one single player that's the most compelling of all is Shedeur Sanders. I mean, where's he going to wind up? I mean, I said all along he'll be that number 9 for New Orleans, but I'm not so certain the Saints are even going to take him if he has it number 9. Is he really going to fall? I mean, so there's going to be some surprise somewhere, and we don't even know between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter for sure who's going to be 2, who's going to be 3. But it's going to be fun to watch. Maybe one of them is going to fall to number 4 to New England even. You know, you never know. If the Browns shot us and take Shedeur Sanders, the Giants take him.
And Good morning to you, Richard. Happy Easter.
One quick note that I found kind of flew under the radar yesterday. The NFL is no longer inviting Jackson Dart to the NFL draft, so it may signal that he is not going to get snuck into the first round by the Rams or somebody else. He may fall into the second, which he probably should.
How does that even work? Or is the NFL have insider trader information? I mean,
no, I think it's guesswork, James. You're right. I mean, there'll be guys who get drafted in the first round that probably are not there, but I think they're just taking all the news like we do, right? And maybe they make a phone call and say, "Are you planning? Are you considering drafting so and so?" Because it's embarrassing to guys. We talked about it before. More for the top guys to fall and still be there, but I'm sure anybody who gets invited is now expecting to be called to the stage, and it's probably best that they aren't there.
And what's crazy about that is that Milroe got invited.
Yeah,
and
Jackson
Dart's not invited. That's odd.
In the New York papers today, this week, there was some talk about the Giants taking Carter, most likely at their first pick, but trading back into the first round for Milroe late, which is a little surprising for me, but we'll see. There's a lot of Jackson. It's all conjecture. We still got another week and a half up to 2 weeks, week and a half of all kinds of nonsense going on. So it's gonna be fun. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely that. I mean, it's so many mock drafts that's going on this week. I had already expedited that this was draft week. I just literally was already there in my mind because I'm just so over it. It's like, okay, we'll be talking about this one more Sunday, but hopefully there's some noise here soon and we can kind of figure out what's going on. Trilla, you have any thoughts on this upcoming week? Drafts, mock draft, of course, we'll be doing that.
Well, the Raiders GM open to using premium pick on running back. See, a lot of stuff that people say, a bunch of, smoke screens. I don't listen to what anybody says during this time of the year because it's like everybody's trying to shuffle for a spot and, they're not going to play their hand. Tennessee was known to say that they weren't going to pick a quarterback with their number one draft. But that's just GM speak. You know what I'm saying? So whatever happens is whatever happens. The Seahawks are willing to trade Howell, quarterback Sam Howell. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
What is so interesting about Seattle trading Sam Howell, who's no more than a backup? I don't get what the interest is for who. I mean, what's interesting about it?
Jack, you of all people know the importance.
No. I'm kind of bad because Sam Howell had a couple of days. He had the job in Washington. He couldn't hold it there. Went to Seattle. I mean, Seattle has Drew Lock as their primary backup right now. That was the intention, just getting him from the Giants. I don't see where Sam Howell would be in demand anywhere.
I'd be happier with Sam Howell as my backup than Joshua Dobbs. I can tell you that. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
He's self-agreed.
You got to understand something too, Jack, that this playoff might have a quarterback in it. Seattle might be looking for another quarterback. Sam Darnold's going to be a bridge quarterback for somebody. That's all I got to say. So they can get a quarterback in the draft, whether it be second round or third round. But I think that's what they're preparing for. That's why they're trying to trade Sam Howell.
The kid from Louisville is a guy that Seattle's interested in. I brought up to Bo the other night, and he kind of poo-pooed it. But I keep hearing Slock. How you get Slock or whatever his name is out of how you spell his name? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I looked it up. It was Slock. It was Slock. Yeah, I don't get it. But
how about just sloth?
But he's been moving up the draft boards, and he's somebody that they've supposedly got some interest in second or third round. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, this is the hush before the storm, so to speak. So it may be some movement this week. It may not be. Speaking of, they did go ahead and retire Shador's jersey on yesterday. This whole pomp and circumstance at Colorado State. I think they also retired Travis Hunter's jersey as well. The gentleman who's They both have caused such a little small uproar coming into the draft. What are y'all's thoughts on that? I mean, I've never heard of a jersey retirement at college, to be honest with you.
There are colleges that have retired jerseys. Some have policies they don't do it. But if you're going to do it, by the way, Hunter, if you're going to do it, Travis Hunter absolutely 100% deserves it. He's done things in college that nobody's done in decades and won a Heisman Trophy. And the other guy is just another quarterback in my mind. So.
Yeah, but look, I mean, you can look at it two ways. I mean, I think the players would have appreciated it more years from now than they are right at this moment. And where would Colorado be if it wasn't for, Deion Sanders and bringing those two guys over? I mean, they're relevant, because of them. They put Colorado on the map. I'm not outraged by it. I think they should have maybe waited, at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Money in the coffers. Deion has had great impact. He's a good coach, but you can bring in a lot of good coaches and get to 8 or 9 wins and lose in a bad bowl game. So,
and not retire anybody's jersey.
That's the only thing. It's been decades since they really had some semblance of relevance. I mean, yeah. I mean, it almost instant turnaround. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I'm neither here nor there for the retirement of the numbers.
If you won a national championship, I agree with Jack. Years from now, I think it would have more meaning to everybody. When looking back, that's how teams usually do this, right? You look back at a fond time in your history, but 6 months later.
I guess, they're riding high, and they probably realize that they may not be on this level of, subpar greatness. I mean, they didn't win a championship, but they were decent. They were better than they had been. And I don't know if they'll still continue to do that. I mean, I don't know what their recruitment pool looks like. I mean, of course, Prime is still there, so that should have some effect, literally, no pun intended. But Shedeur won't be there. Shiloh won't be there for all intents and purposes, and they definitely won't have Travis Hunter.
They lost their second wide receiver, too. I can't remember his name right now, but he had some pretty good season. What was it, James?
Jimmy Horn.
Yeah, Jimmy Horn. He had a really good season on the other side of the ball too. So, or the line. So great job there. They got to replace too. So,
yeah. So, definitely a kind of a quiet week going into the last few days before the draft. One more question while we're talking about it, just to put this plug in, and we may be finally talking about it for the final time. Looks like the hush has gone down around Aaron Rodgers and being connected to announcing right before the draft or right after the draft, because he's come out and made his own statement, talked about how the Jets flew him out so they could tell him in person that they were moving on from him. And he's like, hey, they could have done this over the phone. Like, I'll pay now for $10 million. Now he's saying I'll pay for $10 million. Now he's trying to dial it back. I don't know if the damage control is even worth it. I don't know if we still hear an announcement or not regarding him, or just what do you guys think about this situation?
One quick thing I'll say. I have not been a fan of Aaron Rodgers, especially the last, 3 years or so, and maybe a little more. But in this situation, if the way Rodgers is portraying this meeting, it's BS. They didn't need to embarrass him, bring him in the room and do it the way he explained it. Now, I will say, so maybe there's a little hyperbole. I don't know.
Right.
But if they did it the way he said they did it, it's just classless on the Jets' part. Sorry, classless. It just is.
If you recall, when the Mets fired Willie Randolph, they let him fly with the team from New York to California to let him know in California he was fired. Why let him make the trip? And Aaron Rodgers has a point. I understand you want to look a guy in the eye and tell him in person, unless the Jets had a tiny bit of doubt and the door was cracked slightly open that they still stick with him, and they didn't like what he heard, what they maybe heard in the first sentence or two. Well, we'll never know.
Yeah, I think we know, but if it's 100% accurate, right? I don't know.
I like what you're saying, Jack, but I agree with Keith. I think they knew, and not only did they know, I mean, just like for the Jets, you got to think from their perspective. They can't win either way. You call somebody on the phone, oh, you called me to tell me this? This is weak. You couldn't tell me face to face. or you come in and you tell them face to face, oh, this is what they did to me. Oh God. I feel so bad about this. Aaron, come on, please, man. I just really think he whines and he brings all of this on himself. Everything, Aaron Rodgers is to blame for everything that just happened throughout this year. You can see you can dot every moment that happened that led to this point. And so
Yeah,
it's just on him.
do y'all think he brought this on himself? Like they kind of some kind of way they were like, well, this is the attitude you've brought us all season, so we're just gonna let you exit with that same energy.
I think there was a little bit of relishment in telling him to his face that, hey, goodbye. Yeah, to call you fly 3,000 miles to come tell you we're not having you. I think the owner's probably like, yeah. I mean, if if you're some big boss, why do you care after all the stuff that he's done? Would he even care? No. I mean, come on.
They can call me on Teams and fire me tomorrow. I'm not going to be upset. Don't fly me somewhere. Don't drive me somewhere. You can just fire me on. I'm not upset.
Richard said he should have known when they saw it was a one-way ticket and he was standing at the Red Roof Inn. That's crazy.
I mean, all of you. I'm not sure about Priscilla, but the rest of you are having, laugh at Aaron Rodgers. And he gets blamed for everything. I'm tired of it. Even now with the Steelers, always holding the Steelers up. They're holding the Steelers up. They're holding themselves up. They don't have to wait for Aaron Rodgers. They let them, even Aaron Rodgers does let them move forward and do what they want in the meantime. They're not obligated to me, just like he's not obligated to them. But now, next thing you're going to mention the Steelers and you're going to blame Aaron Rodgers.
First of all, I didn't mention the Steelers at all. All I mentioned was this one specific incident, and I stood up for Aaron Rodgers for the first time in about 5 years.
Right.
Now that you mentioned the Steelers, this is the thing. Aaron Rodgers knows that he has maybe a slight bit of leverage still because of all the free agents that are left. He knows he's the best one out there. And so, of course, somebody's going to wait on him, or maybe if they need a quarterback. I mean, it's just the option, just what's out there. I mean, who the Steelers going to get now? Who are they going to get?
Rodgers.
No, I mean, maybe Derek Carr.
Rodgers is
with his shoulder.
He's going to put it in his cave, and he's going to wait till about week 5 for somebody to call him. That's what's going to happen.
The Steelers knew this.
I think he doesn't want to go through training camp. He doesn't want to go through all this other nonsense. I think if he comes back, it'll be during the season.
Yeah, with the Jets, it was karma. With Pittsburgh, that's just Pittsburgh doing what they do. Yeah, I don't think that he doesn't have leverage on anybody unless you give him leverage, and that's what Pittsburgh's doing. Pittsburgh can do anything they want to do.
Why would you bring him in here when he's made it obvious you're the last choice of Aaron Rodgers? I wouldn't want him to come in.
Nope.
Well, that's why now he's going around saying he'll play for $10 million because he
wants to play now.
Yeah,
he's having that regression. We've seen this even in the draft where we've had people have to come out and do damage control. But Aaron Rodgers, he's been the talk for weeks now. I mean, he's literally had his clicks and likes fiasco, and it's time now to put it to rest. I mean, like he said, he may go away quietly, and then all of a sudden he's a Joe Flacco somewhere, where they're calling him up week 4 because finally the Browns aren't happy with who they've got. So let's go ahead and see what Aaron is doing. And then he's going to make a big production of it then too, guys.
Regardless of what happens, I would not expect any retirement papers to be filed with the league by Aaron Rodgers. He will not do it because it's hard to come back once you do that. There's all kinds of paperwork you got to go through. He will not officially retire.
That's crazy. All right. Well, there's that draft talk and a little bit of NFL in between. Let's get to some NBA round 1 playoffs. The last night was extremely busy. Just a lot of good games, good thrillers there. Timberwolves roll all over the Lakers 117-95 in game 1 of the NBA playoff series. Sometimes the worst thing that the Timberwolves can do is to take a large lead. And we saw that happen last night. The ghost of the playoff pass, guys. That's what we always hear. Playoffs pass the series in 2022 against Memphis, in which the remnants of a recent regular season collapse against Milwaukee still linger in the minds of the fan base there. Along those lines, the Wolves took a 27-point lead. 27, guys. 27 in the third quarter of all quarters, which made most people go ahead and turn their TVs off and think that the series was over with for that night. And LeBron and them got it handed to them as they started cutting the lead early in the fourth quarter, but there would be no disaster as the Wolves regrouped and came away with an impressive, and I mean impressive, 117-95 victory to steal home court advantage.
Can't shoot less than 40% in the playoffs and win basketball games. The Lakers didn't shoot the ball well last night. The big two didn't play that well. Luka came away with 37 points. He didn't play, I should say that. But James looked a little small. Didn't shoot the ball a lot, actually. So I thought that was very interesting. And they got very little help other than Reeves, other than, the big two.
Yeah, and then the Lakers have been this team all season long that they have capitalized on the 3 points, making sure that the other team's 3 points were shut down. They didn't allow no one to shoot threes over them. And last night we just did not see that same team. But hey, LeBron spoke. Of course, he's very confident. It's only the first round. They've got a series here going. They're confident they're going to come back stronger than ever. Guys, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, and now just the term. I mean, we hear it all the time, Sonia. You mentioned it, and you hear it by all the NBA analysts. Oh, they stole home court advantage. They went up 1-0. The important thing is they took a lead in the series. I don't want to hear about juggling home court advantage. Oh, now that the Timberwolves got home court advantage, then the Lakers are going to win a game. And let's say it's 2-2. I don't want to hear that, oh, the Lakers regain home court advantage. Then it would be best 2 out of 3. Let's simplify it. With the Lakers, they're not deep as far as depth goes. I mean, they have their big two. They have Austin Reeves. They have Dorian Finney-Smith. They're not a deep team. They're a charismatic team because of their big two, Luka and LeBron. And the Laker brand, but they really don't have a deep, effective bench.
They don't have a deep, effective starting lineup, Jack, to your point. I mean, we talk about the Knicks' lack of depth a lot. At least their starting five is really strong. The Lakers can't say that. They got to rely on 3 guys.
Well, we can go back to when they tried to make that trade for the center from Charlotte, and that fell through, and they really needed a big man, and it really showed last night when McDaniel, Gobert, and Randall were crashing the boards, and they were really physical. I mean, obviously they got outmatched, and they were out physical as well in this game, and so that really made a difference. And Redick made a decision to take Jackson Hayes out to go small a little bit in the second half, but that didn't work. It just seemed. I mean, I think their threes were off last night, and so I think he'll pick it back up. If they get back on with their threes, that's going to space the floor out a little bit more than what it was.
You can't expect the T-Wolves to shoot 50% from 3 the whole series. So, they're probably going to come back to earth a little bit here, game 2.
There's some pundits out there, Jay Train, you brought up the collapse of their recruitment for their center. There's some pundits out there that actually talk about that's a foundational piece of not just last night's loss, but just kind of some up and down that we've seen from the Lakers throughout this season.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the play for Luka is pick and roll, and to have a big man to be able to play. I mean, Jackson Hayes, he's been doing well, but he's not a true starting center. I mean, he's a center, but he's not an elite one. I think that having that kid from Charlotte would have been a lot better, but for some reason he wasn't just healthy, of course, and that's a whole other story about the question marks about whether or not the kid was healthy or not.
Yeah, Strilla, what are your thoughts on that? You followed a center story on that, or do you think this whole Luka Doncic? I don't know. I think for me, I think that everybody just got so caught up in the fact that Luka was going there that they got caught up in the big name and they immediately thought immediate win mentality. And this last night just proved that that's not always the case. Sometimes, something is off in your play.
I mean, this is a series I think Minnesota can easily take. I just don't the Lakers are just, it's a 2-man team. It really is. It's just a 2-man team. They have no They have no bench. They barely, like Keith said, they barely have a front line. So I don't know. It's just looking bad for the Lakers. You get beat by 22 at home. You got some serious questions. And what else is LeBron going to say? Oh, we're not going to come back to second game. Of course, all teams are going to say that when they lose the first game. But you got a lot of hill to climb in the next game to win that game.
Yeah, sticking on Luka.
Luka's defense is non-existent.
Yeah, speaking of that deal, the Dallas Mavs got eliminated. But let me just say the 2 games that Anthony Davis played, who obviously was the centerpiece of the deal, with Luka from Dallas's end. He played really well. He played well in the win over Sacramento, then scored 40 points in the loss to Memphis. He was like 16 from 29 for the field. I mean, he laid it all out there, and he showed how talented, he was, and that Dallas did get something big in return. So I don't think trading Luka affected Dallas this season, let's put it that way, at all, because Davis played, was outstanding in the 2 games, that they were in the play-in tournament.
I think the biggest difference is just not having Kyrie Irving there.
Yeah, that was pretty definitely Kyrie Irving. That's when you start to feel these absences. Moving along to the second. Actually, let's go ahead. Keith has to run, guys.
Jump
Keith,
in the Knicks real quick.
Off of here. Thank you so much for joining us.
You want to talk about the Knicks real quick?
Give me. Well, talk about the Knicks for a couple minutes. I'll start.
I was wondering if you had. Let's talk about the Knicks. Jalen Brunson plays hero, and the Pistons collapsed during their 21-0 fourth quarter run that decided game 1. What a comeback!
Knicks trailed by, I think, 8 or so at that point when they went on that 21-0 run, and they played some decent defense. The defense has been a problem. They caused a few turnovers during that run. You mentioned Brunson. He started like 2 for 13, and he shot 10 for 13 or 14 after that. Played very, very well. They got some good minutes off by Payne off the bench. We've talked about their bench issues, and he played well in the short time that he played. Knicks had well-balanced attack. I will give a little quick shout-out to former Nick Tim Hardaway Jr., who played a decent game last night for the Pistons. But the guy that I was worried about, and I mentioned here last week, Cade Cunningham, did not come up big last night. He didn't shoot the ball well, and the Knicks either they did a decent job defending him, which I think it was more of an off night for Cunningham than Knicks probably shutting him down.
Yeah.
So can't rely on 21-0 runs every game, so we need to play some better defense.
I mean, their guard, Detroit's guard, and Strilla, this is your team, Malik Beasley. I mean, he was just on fire. 5 threes and got 2 of them and just ended up, flexing the whole thing. And after a layup, that game was down to the wire at the end. The Knicks actually went on a 36-26 run in the third quarter. That was the score. And then before you know it, here we have it.
And before I go, I'll say they protected home court advantage just to get Jack to riled up a little bit.
Oh, wow. Really, what were your thoughts on the game?
It's a game that Detroit's going to have to learn from. They're a young team. They do got a couple of veteran players on. Tobias Harris came up big. Cade Cunningham, he had an off night. He was the one that led to a lot of turnovers. They had 19 turnovers. The majority of them came in that fourth quarter. They can't do that. I mean, they were playing really good all the way up to the mid part of the fourth quarter, and then they just, I don't know what happened, self-destruction. But when you give up 19 turnovers for 25 points, that's not good, and you need to regroup.
They scored 112 19 turnovers. That's not a bad. I mean, you take away those turnovers, the Knicks are in trouble. So
you're right. So I mean, like I said, they just have to regroup, and JB needs to get them focused on finishing the game because they played a really good game. It's just all the way. You can't play 36 minutes of a 48-minute game. You know what I'm saying? So there you go.
Right.
Yeah, JB Bickerstaff should have been the coach of the year. It went to Kenny Atkinson. They announced it before the playoffs. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I think Bickerstaff should have been the coach of the year because the Piston turnaround was, to me, like historical. They were so bad, last year and to get into the playoffs the way they did.
I'm happy for Atkinson. I'm happy for Atkinson only because of the way he got screwed over by the Nets a few years back. So good for him and bad for the Nets. So congratulations to him. I get your point. I got to run, guys.
All right, Keith, have a great one. Keith Engel, everybody. Happy Easter, Keith.
Enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Keith Engel, everybody. All right, let's move along to the next game we're going to talk about. Is going to be that thriller, not in Manila, but in Denver. Denver and the Clippers. 112 to 110 overtime. Both teams during the regular season, 50 and 32 records was their finishing record. And we know the whole fiasco with Denver and their coaching change and their management change and everything. But this ended up being the ultra competitive Western Conference game to start off. Denver did get the number 4 seed and home court advantage in this matchup, thanks to the tiebreaker that was had earlier on. Game 2 will be set for this Tuesday back in Ball Arena. But it was a good game to end the regular season for the Nuggets, who fired title-winning coach Michael Malone earlier this month. 112-110. J-Train.
That arguably this is the best game of last night. I mean, I watched it and it was a back and forth, like you said, thriller. I mean, they were throwing blows back and forth, especially in the fourth quarter and to get to overtime. You just look at how pivotal, and I love the fact that Russell Westbrook was able to get a couple of threes in and jaw off and able to let them know that, he's still here. He said something in the media. I can't repeat it what he said.
Yeah, I know, right?
It just gives you an indication that he's just like, okay, I'm still that dude.
Yes.
And I love Russell. I've always liked him as a player, man, and his personality. But this is going to be a really good series, and I'm really glad to see that someone like Kawhi Leonard, he's not hurt. He's actually playing. I mean, this is what you want to see. This is what an NBA fan wants to see. All the players on board, everybody going at it, and let the cards fall where they may. I mean, whoever wins, wins. Because you can see that they're matched. They're matched up evenly well. I mean, James Harden is playing well. Kawhi Leonard's playing well. Obviously, the players, Michael Porter Jr. on the other side. What's the kid's name? The guard. I can't think of his name.
Aaron Gordon.
No, the guard. Yeah, Aaron Gordon's playing well, but their guard, their shooting, their point guard. But then, of course, the Joker, man. I mean, he's the factor. He's going to be the main factor, and I think they come back and win next one. It was just a really closely contested game. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I just think that this probably going to be getting pushed all the way through to the end. It's just too good.
I mean, we thought that Denver was going to be like blowout city like early on, though, especially with all the fiascos. But I guess they're proving us wrong early on.
I think Jay Train was listening a little too much to the commentators who couldn't stop talking about Russell Westbrook, who, by the way, shot 5 for 17 from the field. If that impresses Jay Train, so be it. 5 for 17. He hit a big 3-point at the end, but then in regulation, he couldn't even get off a shot. He botched things up completely, being indecisive. And when the commentators keep talking about Russell Westbrook nonstop, that means there's a lot of baggage there that they're making excuses for. I know he can be dynamic, come in, make some big plays. He's like a lightning bolt, He's like a gamble. He's a roll of the dice type player. But let's not get carried away. I mean, talk about the steadiness of Jokic and so on, or some other guys, but let's not jump on the Russell Westbrook bandwagon.
Thriller, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll let you know this. I'm a guy of stats, and I watch, the ball play. It's fine, but got to remember something. Are we worried about Denver at this point? Because the Clippers had a 15-point lead over them at one point, and they had 20 turnovers, which ended up 29 points for Denver. Whereas Denver only had 11 turnovers for 9 points for the Clippers. Those are things that add up in a playoff game. It's kind of the same reason why the New York Knicks and the Pistons had the game that they had, because turnovers make the difference. And if you score points off them turnovers, I mean, like I said, 15 points, and the biggest lead that Denver had was 5. So I don't know about Denver.
Jack, just to mention, you said 5
Yeah.
of 18, but the clutch
17.
what really matters. He had a abysmal shooting night, but not when it mattered. Those last 2 3-pointers in regulation kept him in the game. That kept him in the game.
They were big shots without question. The Clippers, this was a missed opportunity. If they were going to win the series, you can't let a game like this get away where you're winning practically every second of the game and then let it get away at the end, and it comes back to haunt you. Now, you're down 1-0. Logically speaking, if you don't, I hate to go to home court advantage and all that, but if you don't win your 3 games in LA, you've got to win a couple of games in Denver. The math is simple here, and that was one of them. They should be up 1-0, handling the series, and I think if they wind up losing this in 7 games, this comes back to haunt you. A game Clippers absolutely should have won, and they didn't. And you wonder whether it demoralizes a team just a little bit, because the Clippers were really up for the game and they played well. But in the NBA is all about closing games out. And the Clippers couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of be the ones. I mean, everybody seems confident now after seeing them play last night that we don't have the big worry about the winning and staying in that we thought we were going to have, because they look like they're playing just as well, even without Malone. So we will have to stay tuned. Moving along to the next game, excuse me, the Pacers and Bucks. The NBA playoff odd was ridiculous. Indiana takes the lead 1-0 in this series, 117-98. Giannis and the Bucks are searching for their first series victory since 2022. We keep talking about that year. This was a mirror of some of the same teams we see now or in this same situation from 3 years ago. So that's going to be important. He had a stellar regular season, 30.4 points on average and 11.9 rebounds and 6.5 assists per game. And he's headed for another All-NBA first team selection series this year. Now, he missed the playoff series last year against Indiana, but a different Milwaukee star is now injured in 2025. Damian Lillard with the blood clot issue here. He has not played since mid-March. And so he is expected, however, which is shocking, to come back in game 2 or 3 of this series. Guys, first of all, let's talk about the game, and then I want to get your thoughts on the fact of Damian Lillard possibly returning.
Well, clearly his absence was felt last night. You can see that not having, there's no spacing on the floor, and Giannis, of course, Giannis is not going to shoot. His game is nowhere near outside the arc. It's all inside. And so, but if you have some teams shooting 2-pointers versus the team that's shooting barrage of 3-pointers, it's just not going to add up. And then, of course, you see a little bit of back and forth jawing between Halliburton and Damian Lillard that even got Lillard a tech, and he's not.
Yes, and he didn't even play. That's why I was like, "How you got words for Tyrese?"
That's good. That shows he wants how badly Damian Lillard wants to win.
Absolutely.
He's probably anxious to come back. So that's a nice red flag.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that I'm glad you mentioned that he's potentially coming back to play. I didn't know that. That should make it a better series, having Damian Lillard on the floor. I mean, he might be a little bit up there in age, but Damian Lillard still can space the floor with his 3-point prowess. So I like it. I like this series still to be a better series. It just looked bad out. I didn't know for sure what the situation was with Lillard not being there, and because there's no other guy that really can match up with some of the other players, with Turner and some of the other guys on the team. I don't see a better matchup. Giannis is the only one on the team. Porter's okay. I just don't see anybody. I mean, Porter, but there's nobody else. Excuse me. I don't see a good matchup here without having Damian Lillard on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, what are y'all's thoughts though of him coming back? I mean, we've seen this with Chris Bosh with the Heat, and Chris unfortunately never returned, having a blood clot himself, and blood clots travel; they could be lethal. So he clearly went through a rigorous clearance with the team doctors, and I'm sure his own doctor about him playing.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
think
Go ahead, Jack. I'm sorry.
is Damian Lillard really going to come back and have such an impact that he's going to help carry the Bucks, him and Giannis? Because if you look at the rest of the team, I mean, they're not deep. I mean, you look at their starting lineup. Who's their next best player? Brooke Lopez? I mean, he's really long in the tooth. So, can two players like that carry a team? I mean, we see it with the Lakers, for example. We talk about Luka and LeBron. How far can they carry them? But, you have to have a team around them. I mean, we're even talking about yesterday's Knick game, strong starting five. Pistons, could come in with certain reinforcements. I mean, at least those teams are a little better balanced than the Milwaukee Bucks. But I think because Giannis is so great and the Bucks went on like a run of winning like 6 in a row late in the season, we're led to believe that the Bucks, are serious title contenders. But listen, the only hope is to get Damian Lillard back and for him to play super alongside Giannis. With that said, but I think the Bucks are far from getting it done.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Jack. And I mean, as I always say, the verdict is still out because when you have such a serious injury, I mean, and ongoing, we just don't know what that's going to look like if Damian actually comes back. All right, let's move on to some MLB news as we get ready to wrap up our last 20 minutes here. The Cubs prevail in a 13-11 win over the Diamondbacks that saw a 16 runs scored in one inning, the 8th inning. I mean, we thought this game was a wrap. It was only a 2-1 Cubs lead at the 7th inning stretch. I mean, it looked like the game was just long, drawn out. I hate those games that are literally just low scoring and 1 point for the entire duration of the game. They can really make for a long night, especially if you're there in person. Kyle Tucker followed with a triple and scored on Michael Bush single, and it was a 7-1 Cubs going to the 8th inning, and we thought the game was a wrap. But nope, it was warm and windy. The weather was kind of different out there. Both bullpens can be leaky when that type of weather is permanent there. It's like visible there with the weather. And then the Diamondbacks quickly singled 3 times to open the 8th, causing the Cubs manager, Craig Counsell, to go to set up man Porter Hodge. Eugenio Suarez made it interesting with that big grand slam that he did, and it was over from there. Did you guys get a chance to watch that game?
Well, that was a couple of nights ago. The Cubs beat them again yesterday.
Yes.
6-2. Actually, I was at a Diamondback game a few days ago at Miami Stadium when the Diamondbacks played the Marlins, and not a lot of people there. The attendance was only a little over 7,000, there. So you kind of wonder about the franchise,
Wow.
in Miami. That's during Easter break too. But, baseball, ebbs and flows. I mean, a lot of runs scored in an inning. It's very rare for a team to give up, a 10-run lead, but it does happen. Baseball doesn't quite have the momentum that, let's say, basketball is going to have, like the Knicks going on the run against the Pistons. I know teams have big innings, but by its nature, baseball is a very selfish game. Even if there's nothing on the line, a pitcher wants to pitch well, so he's always going to give 100%, and the batter's always going to try to get on base. So even if they're not doing the other things to win, those 2 things in itself might be enough, to help a team win. And so listen, I mean, kudos to the Cubs. Cubs in first place. I mean, right now it's early in the season, and the Diamondbacks, have the misfortune of being kind of in a tough division, themselves. And so a lot of good baseball to be played this year. And I'm a little hypocritical. I have on my Yankees shirt, and I was wondering whether we should talk a lot about baseball beforehand. You
yeah,
could,
right.
listen
I
to
know.
me for that. You could, yeah, absolutely. I deserve it.
Yeah. Good morning, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. Kevin says Kuzma needs to step up. Speaking of the Marlins, you brought them up, Jack. They lost last night to the Phillies, 10-11. What a high-scoring game down in Pittsburgh. In Philadelphia is where they played yesterday. 10-11 was their final score. Kansas City Royals, I don't really think too much of them. Got beat by the Tigers 3-1 in Comerica Park. And then, of course, Arizona fell to Chicago to the, looks like the White Sox. The Cubs.
Oh, the Cubs.
Yeah, 6-2. And then Seattle played Toronto, and that game was 8-4.
Well, they had something, Sonia, yesterday, a controversy in the Toronto-Seattle game. The Toronto pitcher, Jose Berrios, was mad at the Seattle's catcher, Cal Raleigh, because Cal Raleigh, when he was on base, was letting the batters know what pitches were coming, kind of pitch tipping. I don't know whether he saw the way he was holding the ball or whatever. I could never figure that out. Even though I played baseball, I was only so good to get to a certain level in high school, and then it stopped. But this is this has always been my logic, and apparently it's not the case, though. You have to hit the darn ball, even if you know what's coming. Someone could announce, the batter could know a curve is coming. Isn't it still hard to hit it? A fastball, a slider. So, but I guess pitch tipping does have a big effect. It's been shown to work for the batter. If they know what's coming, they're usually more effective.
Part of baseball.
Trash talk or just trying to throw the batter off? What you're saying, Jack?
Oh, pitch tipping is when the batter knows what the pitch is going to throw. That's what pitch tipping is. And the most famous thing in pitch tipping in baseball history was in 1951 when the Dodgers played the Giants in the game to decide who would go to the World Series. But before that, the Giants were like 13 and a half games behind with like 6 weeks to play in the season, and they came back. But supposedly they stole the pitches, the pitch tipping. And it happened with Houston and the Yankees, in recent years, that the Astros would be banging on a garbage can to tip off, their batters, what pitches were coming and so on. I think we're living in an age of paranoia that whenever a manager visits the mound, the pitcher's always holding the glove over his hand like this, and even in the NBA, remember in The Last Dance, the way Michael Jordan said something to Steve Kerr? Could that go on today? Wouldn't the microphones pick it up, or someone would look and pick something up? Oh, the ball's going to Steve Kerr. But the bottom line is you have to execute, regardless of whether you know what's coming or not.
I know Strilla had a comment on that. Strilla, what were you trying to say on that? Because
that stuff goes on all the time in baseball. They need to get over that. If your tendencies are apparent to the catcher, and the catcher is the one that catches his own pitches, and he's on base and he sees that, hey, you're either going to change your pitching, or you're just going to keep getting hit. I mean, it's just part of baseball. You can't stop that. It's not cheating. If the catcher can see it, I mean, he's going to let his team know, hey, he's about to throw a fastball. Hit that boy. And like, again, you have to hit that pitch. I mean, there's so many variations of the fastball too. You got to understand that. It could be a 87 mile an hour to 103. You got to get that point down. So really, it kind of defeats the purpose in the first place. They know what's coming, but they don't know what speed it is. Like a curveball or a breaking ball, any of that kind of stuff. It's always about the speed of the pitch. So, I mean, yeah, you can let them know, but they still got to hit it.
J-Train, you have something to say? I saw you.
I was just going to say the same thing what Jack was mentioning about covering your mouth. I mean, they do the same thing in the NFL as well, where the coaches are on the sideline just to make sure
Whole
they're calling the
But
play.
Jay Prince out a baseball man because of New Orleans. New Orleans doesn't have a big league franchise. I mean, can New Orleans support a Major League Baseball franchise? Would they?
We couldn't support a AAA. We used to be called I forgot the Zephyrs. The Zephyrs. They end up moving somewhere else, and so AAA is gone. So yeah, I don't believe they. I mean, they're barely holding on to basketball and football. So I mean, at one point, obviously basketball left and went to Utah, and then of course New Orleans after Katrina was threatening to go to San Antonio. So I mean, I doubt it. I mean, I would love it if baseball came to New Orleans, but
Michelle, in Detroit, the Lions are the most popular sports team, I would assume. Now, you talk about the Pistons, the Red Wings, and the Tigers. Put them in order 2, 3, 4. I'm putting the Lions first. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am.
Yep, you're right. Then it's
2,
always
3, 4.
It's always the second team is always baseball. Baseball seems to have a trigger in this city too, no matter if they're winning or losing. But that second can flex depending if the Pistons or the Red Wings are playing really well. And right now, I think the Tigers are playing real well. They're on the eve of sweeping Kansas City, and they're tied for the third best team in the American League right now. The Pistons are in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. So people are excited about that. So I think it's right. The Red Wings aren't even – they're not even on the board right now because they didn't make the playoffs. So I think Yzerman's going to be a little bit itchy on the seat there. But other than that, yeah, it goes right now. It goes Lions, Tigers, and Pistons, with the Pistons and the Tigers kind of interswapping.
Oh, my.
Lions, you guys should have been named that third team, the Bears, and took that from Chicago.
Hey, no.
Well, Lions in the league of themselves in Detroit, I feel. If the city of Detroit has a choice to have a championship, only one, the Tigers or the Pistons, which one would they pick?
Being that, again, this is the second sport in this city is baseball. I think they want to have a World Series instead of a championship, because the Pistons have been in a lot of I mean, hell, Tigers have been too. But look at, the Red Wings have. The Lions, that's the reason why the Lions are the most popular, because we haven't won a Super Bowl. So, of course, they're going to be way at top. Like I said, the city is kind of fickle about that kind of championships talk. If the Tigers get to the World Series, the Pistons are going to, if they do well in this and they manage to get to the championship, which I don't think they're going to do, but if they manage to, then they're going to flip. Yeah. But,
really? I got a question.
Well, yeah.
You said the Tigers is second. Were they second during the era of the Bad Boys basketball team?
They were doing just as well as the Pistons were at one point, because they went to 2 World Series during that time. And the Pistons, I think the last championship run they made was in 2005 when they lost to San Antonio. But after that, they kind of fell off. And then that's when the Tigers started to pile back on again. Like I said, it's ebbs and flows with this city as far as the championship or as far as the teams go. So, those last 3 teams, Tigers, the Pistons, and the Red Wings, depends on – I think even the Red Wings were even more popular along with the Pistons, because they were winning Stanley Cups then too. So
yeah, definitely.
I think Jay Train makes one good point though. If you had to say the most popular team in Detroit sports history, it would be the Bad Boys, the single most popular team of any sport. That would be my feeling.
Yeah, put a label. I mean, I guess it could be. I mean, yeah. Basketball.
They had a great run. When you think about it, people say they won 2 championships, but people forget that they went to 3. They lost the first one, won the second 2, and they had an opportunity to get to 1, but Michael Jordan got past them. So that's 4 years.
They actually could have got more than that, because the Isaiah pass that was stolen by Larry Bird, where the heck he was passing it to, I don't know. But that could have put them in the championship too, because that was the conference finals, and if we got that, they would have been in the championship. So, yeah, you could say 4 or 5, but I think the 2004, 2005 Pistons were pretty good too. Had they not had Coach Brown in those last 2, I don't know if they would have made it because Carlisle was not getting it there.
Sonia, if I'm ever going off base, just reel me in, because since
you're good.
on a topic, we have momentum going. Jay Crane and myself had a little bit of a disagreement in the past debate. Being that you're from Detroit, it's pretty fitting this Isaiah Thomas being omitted from the Dream Team. And Jay Train feels though he should absolutely be on it. But Jay Train just goes with things on the surface. Okay, basically, that the guy has the credentials. He's a great player. No one is disputing that he was worthy and that he's better, that Isaiah Thomas is better than John Stockton. That's not the argument there. I agree with him on that. But the chemistry involved with the bad will of the bad boys and all the players that were upset with Isaiah Thomas, Scottie Pippen, Karl Malone, no matter what Malone says now, he hated him at the time. Larry Bird, maybe Larry Bird, it didn't bother him, but it was very ugly from a PR thing. Magic Johnson couldn't stand Isaiah Thomas at that time. Their friendship had broken up, and he was supposed to be more of a culprit than Jordan. Jordan obviously didn't like Thomas, you know. But this narrative that Thomas got a screwing and this and that. And Chuck Daly, the great Piston coach, he didn't exactly advocate for Thomas, even though he wouldn't have had a problem with Isaiah being on the team, of course. I mean, what's your feeling on all that?
Well, the Pistons in general at the time, they didn't have a very good, persona NBA. People call them dirty. They're just playing hard-nosed basketball. I'm saying that in bias because they were playing hard-nosed basketball. Quit crying. Anyway, but the main objective of that team, yes, Chuck Daly did lead that Olympic team, and he's probably one of the greatest coaches of that generation. People don't realize that. But guess who was the spokesperson of that team? Michael Jordan. And as long as you have Michael Jordan be the spokesperson, he's gonna choose who he thinks should be in and out. That's just the way it is. Kind of like LeBron is today. Okay, and LeBron will get his pick who he's going to bring in, whatever the case may be. It might be a coach. You may say, "Oh, they're coaching." Nah, not really. Not in the Olympics. So Michael Jordan, he didn't like Isaiah. Like you said, there was a lot of other players on that team that didn't like Isaiah. I just don't think they liked the Pistons, but he was the spearhead of that group. So they said, you know what? I mean, he has the statistics, the ability. He was one of the greatest guards at that time. He should have been on the team, but it wasn't him to make that decision. It was Michael Jordan to make that decision. And
Michael Jordan they knew Michael Jordan didn't want Isaiah on the team, but Michael Jordan never argued, no, don't put Isaiah on the team. It was known. Some things are just known not to do.
Indirect, yes. But it was
Indirect,
an indirect
yeah.
to Michael. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, I know we got a couple of minutes. Just to touch on that subject about the persona of the Bad Boys Pistons. I'll be honest with you, they were at the top of the Bad Boys, but that era of basketball, everybody were bad boys. Everybody had an enforcer. Everybody had somebody knocking somebody down to the ground. So I thought it was a little bit, disingenuous to just really put that on one team. I think the biggest thing was Michael Jordan had to go through them. So that's what made it, I think, more overblown. I think he was the face of the league, and he couldn't get through the Pistons, and that's what made them change. So there's the Jordan rule that came out, and so that's what made it seem like the Pistons looked like they were the quote-unquote bad boy. But in reality,
to rebut that, I think the Pistons of that generation, they were just nasty. Period. I mean, everybody you had your Barkleys, you had your Kevin McHales,
Charles Oakley,
you had Oakley and stuff but you had a whole team of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jordan, I mean, it was known, if you ever seen pictures from those days, Michael Jordan went down the line, and I think Rodman was the one that clotheslined him coming down trying to make a dunk. He clotheslined him. You don't clothesline nobody. That's going a little bit over the top in defense. But he clotheslined him. They tackled people. I've seen Sally tackle somebody. It just goes throughout the whole team, and that's the reason why they were known, because they were just kind of they were on the edge of that being dirty part.
And we gotta go, guys. Sorry, excuse me. Our time is up. We've got to get off of here. We thank everybody for all the likes, loves, and shares. Sorry, Bistrilla. Time is up. We got Keith Angle coming up right behind us. We hope everybody has a great day and happy Easter.
You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.